John, you played basketball in high school and college, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I have some questions you may or may not know the answer to. I'm putting you on the spot and I apologize.
Yeah,
But
probably won't, but go ahead.
do you know what year basketball was invented?
1904.
Oh, that was close. So the original so James Naismith,
Peach
13
basket.
rules,
Mhm.
Peach Basket, 1892.
Oh, 1892. Okay, and it
I
was in
looked it up.
Massachusetts.
I'm not acting like I knew that. I looked it up. But here's why I looked it up.
Okay.
Do you know in the original 13 rules that dribbling was not in the rule set?
I did know that. You could not dribble.
So a player would run, catch the ball, and have to stop where they are, and then they pass. So you move the ball by passing the ball. And then in 1897, so 5 years later, the players at Yale University started, quote unquote, passing to themselves by bouncing the ball off the ground and then catching it so they could move. And in 1901, they actually changed the official rules, the 13 rules, to allow one single bounce of the basketball.
A single
It was
bounce.
one bounce. You could bounce the ball once and then move. So imagine that you're playing basketball, and in those rules, you're running down the court. When you catch the ball, you have to stop, and then
Uh-huh.
you could take one dribble
Mhm.
and then and move forward, but then you have to stop again.
But
And
that
then
would be a
so
strategic dribble because you got a guy guarding whatever, and then you can just kind of throw it out there as and run and grab it, and now you've moved a little bit further, but that's all you can do, right?
that's it.
Wow.
Until 1909, continuous dribbling was then permitted. So they went for they played basketball for over a decade without being able to dribble the ball more than once.
Man alive.
So there you
That's
go. I just
crazy.
I just
Do you know who
wanted to give you.
invented basketball? Well, you said Naismith.
Well, yeah, Dr. James Naismith.
And do you know where he
Oh, now John's asking me the questions.
now do you know where he was where his first college basketball coaching job was?
I do not.
University of Kansas. He was KU's first basketball coach.
Of course he was. Okay, let's start the show.
Dopamine highs and memory lanes. Synapses dance while Sean entertains. Left side logic, right side flair. It's a mental circus in the podcast air. Sean teaches Sean about his brain.
Welcome back to John Teaches Sean About His Brain, the podcast where John teaches us about our brains and I try to figure out what that means for the real world. Here's the thing. A lot of us have been trained at something and trained really well, probably, and yet still struggle when things get moving fast, they get messy, or we get stressed. We know what to do. We've practiced it. We've memorized it. And then a little pressure shows up and it seems to fall apart. So on this podcast, I wanted to ask a set of questions. How does the brain actually learn a skill? Why do some skills transfer and others don't? And what changes when you stop training for perfection and start training for adaptability? So in previous episodes, John has helped me unpack neuroscience, behavioral science. Today is motor control and learning. And I keep translating all of those things into sports, safety, performance, and just everyday life. So if you've ever wondered why real life doesn't look like training, or why good intentions don't always lead to good outcomes, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Hi, John. It's good to see you.
Hey, Sean, I'm really excited about this episode because I don't know much at all about the topic, so I get to ask you questions to learn about it. And
Okay.
it's
And I don't love that part of me talking a lot, but
well, it's
okay.
been discussions we've had before. Like I've had questions about motor learning a lot of times, and you've helped with even designing preflex training and things like that. You've answered those types of questions. But yeah, I'm excited to kind of have a formal discussion about formal in the sense that it's a little bit more structured. We don't have to stop after or get sidetracked 3 minutes in. We can talk about it for a while. So this is going to be fun.
Oh, good. I hope you have fun. And this one, so let me give just a little peek behind the curtain. You and I have discussed this several times on the show. We've gone on record, but the way that we organize this show, especially season 3, which we're in the middle of season 3 right now, is this new format is you or I just throw a topic out there and say, you know, this is something I read. This is what I'm interested in. Let's talk about this. And you and I just have a conversation. So there's no script. There's no like we're not very professional. We don't have like pre-production meetings or anything. You and I, usually through a text or a conversation, will just say, hey, this is what I want to talk about on the show. I'm saying all that to say, the Olympics are going on right now. I've been watching the Winter Olympics, and those athletes, at that level of their sport, that is a skill. So somewhere along the way, they learned a skill. They've gotten really good at that skill, and now they're in the Olympics, right?
Mm-hmm,
And then so there's a side note. I'm the one who suggested this topic this week for the listener. And so if you're mad about it or you hate this topic, you can yell at me. This is my fault. But
well,
on
the listeners were supposed to be giving us topics,
I know,
and
I
so
know.
far
Maybe.
we
Oh, you know
haven't
what?
had those. They might start though.
Maybe if this one's bad enough, maybe they'll jump on and make recommendations. But the on the flip side, as I think I've mentioned on the show before, but if I haven't, I have been practicing in the sport, the martial art of Jiu-Jitsu for almost 10 years. It's been 8 years, I think. But and so recently in the world of Jiu-Jitsu, I guess it's actually smaller than you might think, that world, but there has been a huge uprising or a huge change in methodology. And those two things, I'm going to get into both of those two things and how they relate to what I want to talk about. But both of those two things had me really thinking about this topic. And so the topic that I'm talking about is in the world of motor learning. That's what I've always called it. But there's these textbooks that are written by Schmidt and Lee. They're kind of the two. They wrote all these books, and actually, it's a series of books, but they're just new additions to the book. And so the motor control and learning, I think it's called. I should have looked it up, but anyway, Schmidt and Lee have been around for decades, and as I just said, they literally wrote the book on this. And so that is what I would call the traditional approach to motor learning.
And it's more academic based, probably.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, it is I'm really glad you said that, because it is the theory, but also in the book, it does lay out how to teach someone a skill. And so let's just keep it simple. Let's talk basketball. You were a college basketball player. I was a college basketball player. I think both you and I can both relate to this. So let me just ask you, the first time, I don't know when you first started playing basketball, but the first time, do you remember, even in general, like how were you taught to play basketball?
That's a good question. So I would play with a basketball and a goal, from being a kid, just throwing the ball around. But like the first formal basketball was in 7th or 8th grade. I think it was 8th grade. And it was, I had to learn how to dribble was a start, and then how to shoot and how to hold your arm and all of that while you're shooting, and, elbow tucked in and square up to the basket. And then, I worked on it through high school, and then surprisingly in college, and I don't think it was just my coaching staff, I think it's everywhere, we started out working on fundamentals even more than we did in high school. And
I agree with that. Yeah.
and then
But
during, when the season would come, you wouldn't as much. But I mean, you just start, really everything was fundamental. So you practice the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over.
And so there's some key things you just said that I really want to circle back to, and I really want to drill down on. So you didn't say it in these words, but I'm using my own experience probably, but you had coaches who taught you how to do those things.
Yep.
Because you just said elbow in, right? So when you're learning to shoot a basketball, there's these little phrases that coaches use. right? Like hand in the cookie jar or shooting out of a phone booth, which, people probably don't know what a phone booth is right now, but if you're of a certain age. But my point is that you had a coach.
Yep.
And you had a coach who was telling you how to do these things, and then you were trying to do them.
Yes.
And then through repetition, you did them just over and over and over again until you could actually do dribble the ball the way the coach said.
Yes. And then in a game or in practices, if you were thinking about the drills and what you should do and thinking about putting the ball in the stand and then the cookie, reaching in the cookie jar, shooting it out of a phone booth, that usually messed you up. So you tried not to think about it during a game, but you had to think about it during drills.
So okay. I knew this was going to happen if you let me take control of this ship, but we're all over the board, and that's just going to have to be
me
fine.
taking control by asking the questions.
No. So listen, what you just said is one of my key, not stumbling points, but one of the key things is you practice, practice, and then you go into a game. And what I just heard you say is if you think about this stuff, then it kind of screws you up.
Yes.
Let me give you a really good example. And I think anybody who knows me knows I'm a little bit of a jerk. But when I got to understand what you just said, right? There's a psychological component to the game, to all games. But if you, and I tested this theory many times and it worked almost every time. If you had a really good free throw shooter, they were a really good free throw shooter.
On the other team?
On the other team.
Yeah. Okay.
And they're a good free throw shooter, and you walk by them and say, "Hey, that new shot you got looks really good."
Because now you're making them think about what their form.
I don't know what actually goes on in their head, but it generally, as a human being, you go, "I don't have a new shot. Is my shot different?" And now I have you thinking about your shot.
Yep.
And so, everybody that shoots a free throw, I think, has a different little, not ritual, but maybe ritual,
or routine,
right? Like, routine. That's a better word, a routine. So I get to the free throw line. I put my foot in a certain spot. And boy, this is basketball heavy. If you don't like basketball, I'm sorry, everybody. But on a basketball court, every court I've ever been on the free throw line, there is a little dot in the middle of that free throw line. And that is the center of the hoop. And so I know if I put my right foot in a certain spot compared to that spot, that my right arm, because I'm a righty, is in line with the middle of the basket. Okay. So it starts with where I put my foot. And then I take a deep breath. I dribble twice. I do this whole thing and I shoot a free throw. Listen, I was not a great free throw shooter, but whatever my percentage was due to the fact that I just went through I didn't think about it. I just went through the routine, shot it.
In fact, you have a routine so you don't have to think about it. You focus on the routine, right? And mine was 3 dribbles, by the way.
Oh, okay. But again, the mental side. So going back, because I want to get back to coaching, because that's what this is all about, is coaching. But going back to you learn basketball, and I would even argue, or not argue, I would ask maybe, let's just talk in generalities, maybe not your personal experience, my personal experience, but let's just say you're going to teach a human being how to play the game of basketball. It starts with the rules, right?
Yes.
I mean, you have to understand that this is out of bounds. You can't be out of bounds with the ball. Going back to dribbling, in our cold open, here you have to dribble the ball in order to advance your position, to move. You have to give a general set of rules, how the game is played. And then next again is individual skills. So you have to learn how to dribble, you have to learn how to shoot, you have to learn how to pass. All of those things are done kind of individually. And then the coaches set up drills and practice structures to help you organize all of that. Is that all fair to say in general, right?
Yep.
And so going back to Schmidt and Lee, their focus in these textbooks and everything that they put out is on this this cognitive schema-based skill acquisition. And I've heard it called generalized motor programs through repetition and explicit feedback. So does that all of that make sense?
Yep. I'm tracking with you.
Okay. So then they also talk about, so there's 3 things that they talk about. And I have to, if you haven't turned off your radio or wherever you're listening to this, just stick with me, because there is some practical application maybe here. But they talk about practice structure, how to show somebody how to do something. And then they also talk about feedback. I'm just going to focus on those 3 things for a second here. So let's just start with the method, which has been, as we do, we always try to find shortcuts. So what I'm about to say is an oversimplification of what Schmidt and Lee described, but it's called tell, show, do feedback. Have you heard of that before?
No, I've heard of kind of variations of that, but not in motor programming. But yeah, I've heard
okay.
it.
So
Just
I'm
in
going to
learning in
teach
general.
you. Yeah, I'm going to teach you how to dribble. Okay, we're going to keep it with basketball. And under this theory, Schmidt and Lee's motor control theory is I would tell you, okay, I would tell you what the thing is. This is dribbling. Here's why you need to dribble. Here's when you would dribble. I literally Sean is teaching John today. I am teaching you how to dribble. Okay.
I wish you would have been here about 50 years ago when I was playing basketball.
I
could learn how to dribble.
I was a basketball coach for a short amount of time. I loved it, but the timing wasn't right. I think I would have been okay as a basketball coach, but anyway. So I tell you, John, here's why you need to dribble. Here's how you dribble. I'm telling you those things. Then I demonstrate it. So I show you how to dribble. And so I'm dribbling, maybe between the legs, behind the back, whatever. Maybe I just show you dribbling. And then I let you dribble. And then I give you feedback based on how you're doing. Now I'm saying dribbling, you can take what I just said and apply it to any motor skill, anything that you have to physically do. When you're teaching someone how to do that, whether, you teach your kids how to tie their shoe.
So it's tell, show, do, and feedback.
Yes.
And the feedback is from the coach?
From the coach.
Okay.
And in the beginning, now I'm going deeper than I meant to, but it's fine. I'm on a roll. In the beginning, the kind of rule, and I'm putting that in air quotes, but the rule is, the feedback is prescriptive feedback. But as the learner gets better, the feedback diminishes. So the coach gives less and less feedback.
I see. I thought you were going to say more and more complex feedback.
The feedback you pull back on that feedback.
Okay.
And so, again, you are having them, and then I'm going to have you dribble, just as much as possible until you get good at dribbling. Now, what we haven't done, well, I'm getting ahead. Okay, shut up, Sean. Well, I'm going to come back to that. So we have tell, show, do, feedback. And I already touched on the feedback part, right? Is that you have a coach there who's telling you, things you can do better or things you did wrong or however the coaching style is. That's feedback. Next is the practice structure itself. And so there's these different definitions of practice structures laid out by Schmidt and Lee in these books. And again, they're not the only ones there. I've read several editions of these books. And so I should have qualified this. I started on this venture or this path in 2004.
Wow. Okay.
And the first
Over
thing
20 years ago.
It's 20 years. I've been reading, these textbooks and practicing this style. This is where we're going to get to the heart of, I've been teaching other human beings for 20 years based on Schmidt and Lee's theories. And so we have tell, show, do, feedback. We've talked about feedback, and then there's practice structure. So blocked practice, I'm not going to go through all of them, but blocked practice is where I teach you to do a movement, and then I'd have you do that movement over and over and over and over and over again for an hour, 2 hours, whatever. And then that's it. That's your practice structure. Versus, they used to call it random, but now they call it interleaved because random sounds too chaotic.
Yeah.
But interleaved practice is where you do a little bit of one thing, do a little bit of something else, you change everything up.
So a lot of this is coming from just learning theory too. There's a lot of these and conditioning and things like that. So yeah, go ahead. I like.
When you say conditioning, do you mean or I mean like
classical and operant and
okay.
yeah,
Okay. Because when you say conditioning, we're talking about basketball. My mind went to physical fitness.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So going back, I think that's probably a good enough explanation about that theory. You need a coach or an instructor who knows how to do the thing, and they explain it to you, and they set up these drills. And so again, let's go back to
and give you feedback.
Watch you and give you feedback. And going back to the basketball thing is, depending on what stage of learning you're at, but let's say you can dribble a basketball, right? You went through you've dribbled. And if you're me, there were 3 summers where in high school, everywhere I went, I dribbled, like walking to somewhere I was dribbling, and I was still horrible. But these are just the things I remember, right? As like, as a learner. And even though I didn't organize these thoughts that way then, I probably saw it in a movie or something, but this is how I learned how to do these things. But then we get back together at practice, and they separate us into guards, forwards, bigs, whatever. And we do these drills, whether it's layup drills, and do these drills. And then maybe it's 3-on-3. And then at some point they throw 10 people on a court, and we scrimmage. And we put all of these things that we learned into practice. And again, I'm going back to depending on what stage of learning you're at, because I can't even imagine what an NBA practice is like. I don't know what they're at the top of their level. They're at the top of basketball, and yet they still practice somewhat regularly. But anyway, in high school, and I'm sticking in high school, and then ultimately we would have a game. And what you just said, so there is a psychological part of this, because now a game, the stands are full of people. They're all clapping and screaming. So now there's noise, there's interference, right?
Yeah.
And depending on your practice structure, yet again, things break down.
Yes.
And in the game, things don't happen the way that, I don't want to say they're supposed to, but I mean, and then when you add stress, so it's a close game, and I'm realizing now there's a lot of psychological stuff to this, but to this component, but because there were some people I played basketball with, they wanted that ball in their hands when the game was close and time was running down. I was not one of those people.
And others don't want it. Yeah.
I did not want that basketball. Don't give me the ball. I'm halfway kidding, but you know what I mean? Like, psychologically, there's people who just have it, and they're like, give me the ball and I'm going to win this game. And whether they did or not, that gene, that clutch gene, right?
Yeah.
But my whole point to all of that psychological issue, like the psychology aside, the way that the coach sets up the practice structure, and then the way that the coach coaches in the game, in my experience, and I haven't played basketball in a long time. I haven't played high school basketball in 40 years, but in my time doing that, it was very much based on Schmidt and Lee's theories. Whether they knew that or not, a basketball coach just might coach the way that they were coached.
Yeah.
And run the drills that they ran. But so again, whether they know why they were doing it or not, or maybe they, were or a nerd like me and like read all these books and studied, where this stuff came from. It didn't matter. They were still doing the same thing.
Probably not high school coaches, but maybe.
Probably not. Yeah. I mean, but maybe. But then college coaches, again,
More
like
likely.
you said, my experience was I practiced, the practice structure was way way more defined or refined at college than it was in high school.
Yeah, definitely.
And I actually expected it to be the opposite, but it was not. So I've laid out, I hopefully laid it out well enough, Schmidt and Lee's theory
Yes. I think
on
yeah.
how humans acquire skills, refine those skills, and then can apply those skills.
And that's, you use basketball as an example, but it could be anything that any motor skill that you're learning, or any physical skill. Would that be right to say?
I think it's a motor movement skill.
So
I think physical
any
skill.
movement that you have to learn a pattern of movement, then
Right.
okay.
But I got the brain doctor on here. Why am I not asking this question? So your motor cortex, which is located about where, if you're watching this, where your headphones are, right where that band hits your head.
Yeah, maybe a little bit in front of that, but right along there.
Okay, but right in that
it's
area,
across
right?
there, just like the band as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a part of your brain that controls motor movement. And so I'm really glad this came up too, because I want to say this part, and that is that when I practice something, when I practice dribbling a basketball over and over and over and over again, that pattern, the way the ball feels in my hand, everything that my body is taking in and sending messages to my brain, that gets recorded in the motor cortex. Is that accurate?
So the motor cortex is what sends the signals, and there's a premotor area that's just in front of that, just right in front of it, that has all the motor plans and things like that. So yeah, I mean, that's basically true. The premotor area, and then the motor area sends the signals to the spine and out to your muscles.
Okay. But is it fair to say that it's a motor memory?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's a pattern. It's like how the pattern of cells are connected to create a certain response. So in that sense, yeah, I mean, that's basically what a memory is anyway. So yeah, I think so.
Okay. So then when we're going back to basketball, if I have done enough repetitions where I have formed a motor memory, and then when I get into the game, that memory, because you said motor planning too, so all that stuff comes together to create a movement or a series of movements.
Yes. Yep.
Because there's discrete movements, serial move. There's all these different movements. But, and again, I'm trying to keep this at Sean level. I'm not trying to go too deep into this, but so whatever the movement or set of movements are, they're stored in your motor cortex. You can draw upon them, and okay.
In the motor area, yes. And then the cerebellum, right at the very back of that little cauliflower looking thing at the back, also helps with planning, but it's mostly predicting what you're going to need to do to then feed into the premotor area to say, get ready to execute this movement, because in a game, you've got a ball, you see somebody getting ready to pass the ball to somebody on the other team to somebody, and that part of the brain can say, the ball is going to be passing by you, send the motor plan to lunge, to knock it, to try to steal the ball. Or if you're dribbling, you see somebody get down a certain way, and that part of the brain predicts they're going to try to go for the steal, so it gives you a different motor plan to pull the ball back. But it's all relating to the motor plans in the front, like you're talking about, and those have been practiced and drilled and all of that. So when you practice a dribble where you then bring it between your legs and kind of behind so that you get the ball away from the defender, that could be the motor plan that's called upon when somebody's getting ready to lunge, just to do that without having to think about it, because that's usually outside of your awareness, because that's why they're thought of kind of as memories. They're outside of your conscious awareness. You don't have to think, oh, this person might lunge for it. What's my move? What do I have to do? Because then that's executive control of the motor movements, and that's way too slow.
Yeah, that ball would already be gone.
Yeah.
And let's change sports for just a second. I'm sorry to mix it up here, but I was thinking about motor movements, and you just said calling up a motor movement. But in the sport of baseball, especially in the pros, the high level baseball players, I think if you've watched baseball or familiar with it, you know what a check swing is.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm a batter. I'm not a Major League Baseball player, in case anybody didn't know. So if I'm way off, don't scream at me too much. But I'm in the batter's box, and I'm a high level batter. I've swung the bat millions of times. I'm really good. I'm watching the pitcher, and something about the pitcher, either the height of his hand, the
Mm-hmm.
way his shoulder moves, something says a fastball's coming. I'm going to swing at this thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the motor plan that I come up with. I start to swing, and it leaves his hand, and I realize it's not a fastball. It's not what. So I actually fire a second motor movement, a motor program, which is stop swinging.
Mm-hmm.
And so in motor learning, I guess vocabulary, I'd say that, but in motor learning, a check swing is how good that second motor program is.
Mm-hmm. And how quick,
Did you
maybe.
fire? Yeah. Did you fire it fast enough?
Mm-hmm.
And how good did your wrists break? Did the bat go beyond a certain plane or
Mm-hmm.
certain plates? And so there were actually 2 motor programs fired in really fast order in that one pitch.
Yeah. Less than a second.
And so
both of them are
again,
fired,
to
so.
illustrate what you were talking about is the motor planning part, the perception of all these things happening. And then you call up, and again, these aren't the right technical terms, but you call up the motor program, swing at a fastball.
Mm-hmm.
And then you immediately call up, stop swinging.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good example of what we're talking about in this instance.
Yep.
Now, because I just spent a half an hour describing Schmidt and Lee's motor learning theory, let me talk a little bit about the other theory. And this theory is called the constraints-led approach. Now,
So
the
it's
constraints
counter to Smith-Lee?
it is so counter that
Oh.
it blows people's minds.
Oh, good. I was hoping it wasn't just a small variation. No, I like this.
It is
It's a disruptive
180
theory. I like it.
It is a 180 away from Schmidt and Lee.
Okay.
So this constraints-led approach. I'm calling it that, but they're starting to call it in Jiu-Jitsu anyway, because so listen, this is a practice structure that is grounded in ecological dynamics.
Which is real world dynamics, basically.
Yes. And so we're going to go back. See, John, you're so on it. We were talking about basketball and all the practice hours and everything, but it breaks down in real world situations in the game. Why? Because there's so many things that were not predicted. There are 10 human beings on and actually there's 12 to 13 because there's referees on the floor. So there's all these human beings on the court, and there's no way you can get close, but there's no way that you can mimic a game like the game conditions. We try, like we put a whole bunch of people in the stands in a scrimmage and have them, okay, but still not the game.
No.
And you're playing in a scrimmage, you're playing against other teammates. Some of them well and have played with for a long time.
You know what they're going to do. And
you can predict what they're going to do. Now we go into real world conditions, and we're just talking about basketball, but this applies to everything. Any physical skill training that you've ever done, I believe this applies. So I got off track. Let me go back to the constraints-led approach. The constraints-led approach believes that there's three things going on. There's the individual, the athlete, the task itself, and then the environment. So under the athlete or the individual, because I shouldn't just say athlete because we're not always talking about teaching someone a sport.
Individual, I like that.
The individual. So their physiology, their perception, their experience,
that's
their stress, right? That's
There's
all
a lot
the individual
that can go into
stuff.
that one.
Yes. Tasks. That one's a little bit easier. But I went over like the rules, the outcomes, the goals, the tools that you have available, time pressure.
I was going to ask if it was goals oriented, the task.
Goals. Yeah. The task is very much goal oriented.
Okay.
And then environment, space, terrain, weather, social context. Yeah. And here's the big one. And this, I think, is what is problematic for us as human beings. Because a basketball coach, when I say that to you or anybody listening, you have a picture in your head of what the basketball coach is supposed to be doing. They're teaching you how to do, we already talked about it. They teach you how to dribble. They teach you all these things. In the constraints-led approach, that is not the case. The coach's main objective is to design the practice structure so that the individual that's going through it, the movement, they can find movement solutions on their own. So you don't prescribe them movement solutions.
I already really like this theory.
The individual, the learner self-organizes
Mhm.
under the constraints that the coach sets up for them.
I really like this theory. Yeah.
I like it as well, because so let me go back. Like, now I'm going to take it to jiu-jitsu because that's that's really what's on my mind. Is when you go to a jiu-jitsu class, traditional again. I haven't been to every jiu-jitsu school in the world, so I'm only speaking about my personal experience. But almost every not almost every jiu-jitsu school that I've been to, you go there, class starts, and maybe we do a little bit of a warm up. That's school dependent, but then we all gather around, and the instructor explains the technique that we're going to be working on. So when you would do an arm bar from the guard, from closed guard, and why, blah, blah, blah. And then he would get on his back. He would have a person inside his guard. These are jiu-jitsu terms you don't need to know to get the point. And then he demonstrates how to do the arm bar. He does it 2 or 3 times, changes his angle so everybody gets to see what it looks like done correctly. And then this part's dependent, but a lot of times it's like a step-by-step. Step 1, put your foot here. Step 2, or step 1, uncross your leg. Step 2, put your foot here. Step 3, change your angle. Step 4, move this foot here. Step 5, do the arm bar, just to keep it simple. So there are 5 steps. Then the coach or the instructor says, does anybody have any questions? Does anybody need to see it again? No. Get a partner and then get into position. Everybody go. And so then we all spread out. One of us lays down on our back. Our partner gets inside our guard, and then we wait. And then the instructor says, 1, uncross your legs. 2, put your foot here. 3, blah, blah, blah. And then he's walking around the room and he's making adjustments to people. And that's I don't want to say the value, but the value of going step by step is that everybody in the room freezes in one position. And he can look at everybody and go, no, your foot goes here, not there. Okay. Blah, blah. Step 3, step 4, step 5. Do it again. And then probably switch roles. So then the other person gets on their back. They go 1 step. So
this
step
is
1,
Smith Lee.
This is in line with their theory. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we do it. And then actually, and I want to tell everybody, I'm speaking in generalities. I might not be describing your jiu-jitsu school. Okay. But just follow this line of logic, please. But then maybe the instructor brings everybody back together and makes group corrections. If you see 3 or 4 people making the same mistake, you tell the whole group, hey, when you're changing your angle, whatever he does. And then we go back again, and then maybe the 5 steps become 3 steps. So now you start combining the steps until you get to step 1, where you just say go, and then you put it all together and you do an arm bar. But that, a typical jiu-jitsu class goes anywhere from 1 hour to 90 minutes. If you imagine what I just took you through, in an hour, there's only enough time to really do the arm bar in that
That's
class.
one lesson.
So you just learned how to do one technique, and you did it a bunch of times. And when you leave there, actually, you feel like I'm pretty good at that. I got that down pretty good.
Yeah.
That's called blocked training, by the way, what I described in the beginning, where you're just doing it a million times for an hour. And then when you're done, you're like, I'm the king of arm bars. And then you leave. And let's say a couple days later, you come back and we're doing open mat, what's called open mat, where there is no instructing. We all get together and just roll around with, 5-minute rounds, 30 seconds of rest. And I can't do an arm bar. Can't do it.
Yeah.
I even show up to class and go, by the way, this is hypothetical. I can't do an armbar. But in all seriousness, I show up to class and I go, I'm the king of arm bars. I'm just going to work on arm bars today. And I can't do an armbar.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just really suck at jujitsu. And what the argument is, and the argument is not only one guy, but there is a guy, Greg Souders, I think is his name. He's a high level black belt. He's really good at jujitsu, and he just only believes in constraints led approach. And so he has gotten a lot of traction in the jujitsu world because what he's saying is so outrageous, so crazy that everyone's like, this guy's a lunatic. But here's what he would say. And boy, if Greg ever hears this or listening, if I screw this up, I am sorry. Because why I want to talk to you, John, why I'm trying to get all this out is I don't know it well. I've spent 22 years under the Schmidt and Lee theory. And now I'm hearing this other theory that is blowing my mind, but I don't understand it well enough to put it into practice. And the jiu-jitsu school that I teach at, my coach, my black belt, wants to move into the constraints-led approach. And I'm a little bit scared because I think that I'm a good instructor. I think that most people would agree that I'm a good instructor, but I'm a good instructor under the old way. The way I just described it, I can teach people step by step how to do a thing, but I think that I might be doing it wrong. So let me go back. The constraints-led approach to jiu-jitsu would be, I'm not even going to tell you what an armbar is. I'm not going to teach you how to do an armbar. That's not what we're going to do. I'm going to design games. We call them games. You can call, but I put constraints around this, whether it be the environment, it's usually the task for me right now, because I do understand that the task part. So I would just get everybody, around me and say, here's what we're going to do. If you're on your back, I want you to try to, I'm not good at this. What would I tell them to do? Like, try to, the first game is I want you to try to get both of your hands on one of your opponent's arms. And if you can do that, you win. That's a win. Partners, don't let them get two of their hands on one of your arms.
Yeah.
That's the game. And again, if you know CLA and you're in jiu-jitsu, I mean, go ahead and yell at me, but I'm trying to explain this in a way that someone who doesn't do jiu-jitsu or understands CLA can understand this. So I just gave them a game to play, and I never said the word armbar to them. But they're
set
playing
up the environment where they're kind of forced to figure out the armbar.
Correct. And so in the theory of motor learning, I explain what happens. There's not a lot of variability. I give them prescriptive feedback, but it's the skill acquisition and possible retention is all internal. We talked about that, but the constraints led is I design an environment for them to learn to adapt. So they get information for adaption. It's more implicit, but it's really just it's exploratory. So go ahead.
Yeah. Well, so where does, like, when they respond? So in this constraints led model, when they perform a move of some kind, and where is that move? Where's it housed in the brain? Like, is that part of the on channel or part of the back channel?
Oh, no. It's got to be in the back channel.
It's got to be in the back channel.
Because my understanding under this method is that if you give the proper constraints, and then what I didn't say is as the practice session goes on, you remove constraints. And so it expands, whether it's the environment you're constraining or the goal or the outcome, or even the individual, trying to get them fatigued or stressing them out. Whatever you're doing to the environment, the nervous system organizes itself without conscious control. So it's got to be housed in the back channel.
Yeah. And in fact, all of them are. Like the Smith-Lee method is the reason you're doing step 1 through 5 is you're trying to create that motor program that can be called up. That's in the back channel. And like we were saying,
Okay.
like basketball, you don't have to think, how do I dribble between? Because if you start thinking about it, it's too late. They've stolen the ball from you. And in jiu-jitsu, if you try to think, how do I do the armbar? I put my foot where? Then it's probably over. So it has to be in the back channel. It has to be an automatic. And so Smith Lee's trying to make it automatic by giving skills.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's in the back channel, the Smith Lee methodology is teaching the on channel. And it sounds like the constraint-led model is teaching the back channel. So if it
Oh, I
needs to
didn't think
be the
about it
back
like
channel
that.
anyway, you could take away one of the steps of teaching the on channel and having it then teach the back channel and just go straight to the back channel maybe.
Interesting. That's okay.
So,
That
but you
makes
know
a
what?
lot of sense to me.
The brain is built to solve problems, and that's what it wants to do. It wants to find solutions to problems, and that's what adaptation is all about. And so if you give it problems consistently, it will start solving them and it will find its own pattern of solving problems. So going back to basketball, because I don't know anything about jiu-jitsu, but Reggie Miller's shot. I mean, was Reggie
Mm-hmm.
Miller a good shooter?
Yeah, a great shooter.
One of the best ever.
Mm-hmm.
His shot looks crazy. And I heard him interviewed once, and the interviewer asked him about his shot. He said, yeah, all my high school coaches, he said, every coach I've ever had initially tried to change my shot because I
Yep.
wasn't doing it the right way. So
Mm-hmm.
they would have me work on different things. I couldn't hit anything. And then when they would turn their back and leave, I would just start shooting like I knew how to shoot. They would get frustrated. But, and he said, eventually every coach I had finally just said, just do it your way,
Just
because he
shoot the
could
ball.
make the shot. Like, why are you trying to change it? He's hitting everything basically. And because it didn't fit our pattern that we wanted, so we're going to change it. But it's like his brain figured out what it needed to do to put the right arch, speed, whatever on the ball so that it went in the basket each time, basically no matter where he was standing. And so your brain can figure those things out if you don't get in the way of it. So that's why I like, as you were starting to talk about constraints led, I
Mm-hmm.
really like that method.
Yeah. So they're not defining like so here the technique, right? So teaching proper shooting form. You brought up Reggie Miller. Have you seen Tyrese Halliburton's jumper?
Yeah, yes.
It's atrocious.
Yeah,
It is. It goes against everything I've ever been taught about shooting the ball.
yeah,
Tyrese Halliburton is a fantastic
yeah,
jump shooter.
yeah.
So you don't teach anybody proper shooting form. Going back to the dribbling discussion, you don't teach correct dribbling mechanics. In CLA, that's not what a coach does. But if we were to just stick with what I've been saying, is you define the functional outcomes. So why do you dribble? You dribble to keep or create space, maintain possession of the ball. I mean, I'm trying to come up with this. This is off the top of my head, but
Well,
you give outcomes.
You give the goal,
And
the outcome goal, and say you have
yes,
to meet that. Yeah,
yeah,
so I'm thinking too about, because I was thinking about, well, shooting, if a coach hadn't told me how to tuck my, because I became better at shooting by following the routine the coach told me.
mm-hmm,
But I'm thinking about in constraint, because if I just like throw the ball from my chest like I was shooting before I started playing basketball, I would get blocked really easy. But that's the point of constraint-led training, that you say, I set it up where there's somebody in front of you and you have to keep shooting the ball. And every time you do it from your chest, they block it. Your brain goes, okay, this isn't working, so I've got to do something a little bit different. But you can also see other people, how they're solving the problem, even without getting this specific instruction. Oh, if I hold it, and it goes above my head, like out of a phone booth, if you come up with that on your own, I'll shoot it like I'm shooting at a phone booth and they can't block it.
right.
So that
No,
would be
my high
what you're
school coach,
talking about.
that's how we taught it was,
Yeah.
elbow here, hand. I don't remember all this stuff, but it was elbow, hand, and then shooting out of a phone booth.
Yeah.
That would, if I remember right, those were like the 3 benchmarks for how to shoot a basketball. But to your point, like what these people, because I heard Greg Souders, even though he's a jiu-jitsu instructor and all that, he was talking about basketball on a podcast and said, I wouldn't teach anybody how to dribble. I would give them a ball and tell them if they're going to move forward, they have to dribble. So figure it out. And then I'd put a defender on her, a defender on him.
You're getting your careers mixed up.
So I would put a defender on him and give them the constraints, whatever they are, and let them figure it out.
Yeah.
And the people on the podcast were like, you're like, they didn't call him a lunatic, but they wanted to. They're like, you're crazy. You cannot teach someone to play basketball without teaching them to dribble. And he's like, you absolutely can.
Yeah, this is interesting because I grew up with Smith Lee. I didn't realize it, but everything was drills, and
Mhm.
we lived in. So this is now I'm married and have kids, and we were living in Minnesota. And my middle son Jonas was really good at, loved basketball, was good at it, and he was in middle school and elementary and middle, but starting in middle, and he was playing basketball, and everything in Minnesota was about all the different drills you do, and he learned really good fundamentals, and he was tall for his age. And so the coaches, you go stand under the basket, and he didn't ever get a chance to like catch. They wouldn't even let him if he was running down the court and another player threw him the ball, like at the 3-point line, and he caught it and stopped and looked for somebody to pass to. The coach would like yell at them, "Don't throw it to the big man while he's running down the floor," that type of thing. It was
Yep.
really the traditional way of only the guards touch it and all of that. And we moved to Pennsylvania his freshman year of high school, and there was a basketball camp and at the high school where he was going to go and the high school coach was leading it. So I said, "Hey, this is something," because we moved there in the summer. So why don't you go and you can start meeting kids? And so he went, and the coach immediately said, "I want to talk, man, your son is really good at basketball, has fundamentals, all of this." And he said, "I want him to play in our high school summer league where we go play other high schools." I'm like, "He's a freshman. He can't." He said, "No, I want him to do that." I said, he would love, and I asked Jonah, he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh, he would love that." And I was like, wow, he's really fitting in. So I went to their very first game, and he had Jonas playing guard. And he would tell Jonas every time he got the ball to shoot the ball from the 3-point line. He would say, "You're a 3-point shooter." And he told me, he said, "Your son is a 3-point shooter." And I'm like, "No, sorry. He was born with his back to the basket. So he's got to catch it on the post and do
Turn
a
and
little hook
shoot.
shot or something." He said,
Yep.
"No, he's a guard." And I said, and I said, "Oh, okay." And I just remember telling Casey, "This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard." He threw him in all these game situations, and he had him shooting threes, and it was painful. His very first game was painful to watch because the coach would yell, and he would tell the other players. The other players started throwing it to him, and these are high school kids,
Mm-hmm.
and just
And
yelling,
he's a
"Shoot
freshman,
it!"
right?
And he's a
You said
freshman, and
freshman.
it's in a
Okay.
new town,
Mm-hmm.
and the high school is about 1,800 or 2,100 students, all about around 2,000 students. So it was a good sized high school. And so you have really big, strong. I mean, some of the players look like men already, and they're throwing this little skinny freshman the ball, and the players are starting to yell at him, "Shoot it!" And Jonah, like his first shot was just a really bad air ball, and I'm going, he's running Jonas. And the next time down, they would say, "Shoot it," and I would go, "Oh man, I wish they would pull him." I was almost ready to go, "Hey coach, pull him out. You're gonna ruin him. He's never gonna want to play basketball again." And by the end of that first game, he hit his first 3-pointer. And then, yeah, he just became, I mean, he ended up with a college scholarship to Division I school, and he was a 6'7" guard and could shoot lights out. And the coach said, "No, I can tell when somebody's," but it wasn't drills on how to shoot and drill him over, shooting three. It was in a game, go shoot it. And he's like, he had to figure it out. So I
And
didn't
that
realize till
just
now
describes
that,
CLA right there.
yeah, I
That's
didn't
what he
realize
did
it
to
till
him.
now. And so
Yeah,
he
put him in
went
the
from
game
Smith
and do
Lee
it.
in Minnesota to is it CLA?
CLA, constraints-led approach.
CLA in Pennsylvania, and like just in a week, it was a turnaround from one to the other. Yeah,
That's
that's
amazing.
crazy.
I love that story because, again, like my basketball career, I'm 6'6". I shouldn't have been back to the basket like I was, and I don't know that it would have changed anything. But if the coach would have just put me in a game and said, every time you touch the ball at the 3-line, shoot it,
Oh, I would love
and
that.
the coach didn't care what the outcome was.
Yeah, no,
He gave me the rules. If you were on,
Mhm.
if you're at the 3-line and you have the ball, shoot it.
Yeah.
And what in every game, if we did that, I don't know how many games it would take, but I have to believe that anybody, not me, but anybody would be a better 3-point shooter
Oh yeah.
because when you drill and practice, you get good at drilling and practice.
Mhm.
And it doesn't always translate to real world situations, the game. But if you just played the game all the time, that's all you did is play the game. So imagine this. I want you to think about this. Your first day of learning how to play basketball, I don't care how old you are. I just bring 10 people on, put them on the court and say, your team A, your team B. So U5 versus U5. Here's the rule. You have to dribble the move. Like I'd give them 3 or 4 rules.
Yeah.
Go. It'd be a disaster.
It would be, I can't even
Anybody
imagine that.
watching it would be like, what? But if we did that over and over and over again, I'm arguing that they would be better basketball players in the game than the other group. Now, I'll tell you this, for a researcher, there is a lot of research on this topic. And I believe, and it's not confirmation bias, what I'm seeing about CLA, I do believe the statement I just made.
Yeah.
Is let them play the game. Don't practice. And if you're going to practice, it's not drills. It's
scrimmage.
Well, but even if we're going to do individual drills, as the coach, I set up the constraints so that the adaptability is there, so that when they go into a game, they're not thinking about, okay, the defender's here, that guy's cutting or whatever. It's, you can problem solve mid-game. In the moment, you can adapt those skills and you can problem solve real time.
So basically, you're saying, and it's what I said earlier too, is that if you stop to think about what you're doing, then it's too late. So basically what you're saying is you want to strip away the on channel. So like once you've taught the back channel, you want to strip away the on channel so they can perform. So if the goal is to strip away the on channel, then which system will work better? The one that trains the on channel or the one that trains the back channel? Yeah. So I think you can, this is really interesting because I've always been, I think, probably the follower of Smith Lee, just from my experience. If you're talking about sports,
we all have. Yeah.
And then thinking about it, it would be kind of scary to think about, we're going to take away all of that. But I like the idea of setting up the constraints and letting the brain figure it out. And then I also am understanding it at a much deeper level now, because as you know, with Preflex, we're designing some machine intelligence stuff. And so I've been sharing some of that with you. And that's one of the papers I just sent you, was about constrained evolution was the name of it, but putting constraints on the the machine, because you can let it learn. It can have direct learning where you tell exactly what it needs to do and have it do that over and over. Or you can have what's it called? What's the word for undirected? I can't think. Like kind of it's not the term for it, but kind of free for all,
open
learning, where it can just do whatever.
Do whatever.
Or you can have self-directed learning, where you set the constraints up and say you have to work within these constraints, and then it learns how to work within those constraints. And that is always like the best, comes with the fastest and the strongest results that transfer to other skills better. And there's so many things that generalizability, transferability, these are things that you're talking about with sports. So I mean, the constrained led, so maybe a year ago I would have said that would be interesting, but I think right now I'm 10 toes down on the constraint led approach. I think that is I don't know anything about them other than what you've just told me, but from what I've heard, I really like that approach.
And I intentionally was not bringing up what you're currently working on, because I didn't think we were supposed to be talking about that yet. But when we actually do talk about it, it's very exciting. But I read, and again, maybe this was confirmation bias, but I read a little bit of CLA in that document that you created.
Now that you've explained it to me, I see it in there too. Yeah.
And again, I love that you didn't know what I wanted to talk about, but you had that story about your son, like going from one approach to motor skill acquisition and retention, but and then kind of, whether we call it CLA or not, but just go in the game and here's your only rules. Shoot the ball. When you get the ball at the 3 line, shoot it.
I'm wondering if his coach had heard of the different styles, or if that's just something that had worked for him, because he
might have just intuitively just been like, I know a good shooter when I see one, and here's what I do.
He also said to Jonas and the other kids, like, when you're on your own, don't do like what you were saying, like dribble a basketball, wherever you go, just take a basketball with you and dribble it.
Yeah.
And then he said, but don't work on drills. Just go play each other one-on-one, or find a game to get into. Like, don't
He
worry
he
about your
might have
drills. Just play one-on-one. And he would tell me that you should take Jonas to the Y every day. And I would go to do some dribbling. No, find
let
a
him play.
older person who's really good and have him play him one-on-one, just over and over and over and over. So that's the CLA
I
approach.
feel like he might have known a little bit about what
yeah,
we're
because he was
talking about.
also a PE teacher
Yeah.
in high
Yeah.
school. So I'm sure he was exposed to those different learning
So one of
methods.
the research articles that I read was about PE teachers,
Hmm.
and there were 43. I think I have this right. I should have had it up in front of me, but that they had these 43 teachers try the constraints-led approach to teaching skills.
Mhm.
And then they had, the control group keep doing what you're doing. Right. So that's kind of what we're talking
Yeah.
about right now.
Yeah.
And the transferability, the adaptability,
Mhm.
there were three things that the CLA group blew the others away. But they weren't good at drilling.
Yeah.
But when you put them into a game, the CLA group far outperformed in these conditions that they had set up, far outperformed the control group.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something to that. It's
Yeah,
just
I would like to I might see if I can contact Emery Cook was Jonas's coach's name in Pennsylvania. He's retired now from coaching in high school, but I might contact him and see if he had heard of that. That's what he was doing.
we're over an hour. I've kept you a long time. I know you have stuff to do, but I have to throw in, I left something that to me is really important out, and I didn't mean to do it, but I just realized it. In the beginning, I made a big deal about feedback,
Mm-hmm.
right? The coach.
Yep.
So to just really put a fine point on all of this, in the traditional kind of skill development, skill acquisition, is the coach teaches you the drills, has you do the drills, gives you feedback, all that. CLA, we've talked about the structure. What I forgot to say is that there is no feedback. If the coach says anything at all to the learner, or the instructor or coach, if they say anything, it's to ask them questions. So they might ask something like, what's a good?
Is that the best position to be in right now? Those types of questions?
Well, no, I think it's more okay. So in traditional, let's go back to shooting, because I just realized you said it. So I might tell in the traditional method, your elbow's flaring. Right? Or like tuck your elbow or whatever, hold your follow through longer, or shoot out of all those things we talked about. Instead, not mechanics, but I want your attention. I want to kind of tune your attention. So I might ask, what did the defender do that made you shoot the ball?
I see. Okay.
Or like, when did you feel that you had enough space to shoot the ball? Again, I'm coming up with these kind of on the spot, but you get what I mean, is like, I'm going to ask you questions about what you did or why you did it, and make you kind of go back to what you need to be paying attention to.
So is the goal to get you to understand why your brain's solving the problem the way it is? Is it trying to make you aware of the pattern, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think that's a better way. Yeah, I mean,
because
your brain,
I took a shot right for and then say, why did you shoot when the defender was there? And then I have to stop and think, well, if he would have gotten closer, I wouldn't have been able to get the shot, or something like that.
Exactly. Okay. That is exactly it.
Okay.
But I think you're making the learner think about like when to shoot the ball and when to not to, maybe, as opposed to shooting it perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back to Reggie Miller. Like, hey, your elbow's flaring. Your jump, fix all your mechanics. Just fix all that. It's like, no, just shoot the ball. Hey, Reggie, when you're at the 3 line, just shoot the ball. And you can shoot it from your chest, or you can shoot it with your funky mechanics.
Just don't let them block it.
Well, I mean, but if it gets blocked, that's information.
Yeah, that they use, that the user or the athlete, the individual,
the learner can take that information. And, you keep shooting the ball and it keeps getting blocked. This is where you come in. Your brain is going to be like, this isn't working. Let's make an adjustment. Let's make an adjustment. And I think that process is far more powerful than me spending all that time going, here's where your elbow goes. Here's what you should be seeing when your wrist is bent with the ball on it. Here's what your support hand should be doing. Here's how bend your legs. All of that is like, I don't care about any of that
Yeah.
because every individual is different.
Uh-huh.
And so when we go back to those three different things, right? The individual or the learner, the individual, the task, the environment, the task might be the same. The environment might be similar, but the individuals, we're all different.
Uh-huh.
And so you're going to learn what works for you. You're going to learn how to adapt in different environments. So you can take one skill and adapt it to several different
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. No, that's really good. I hope Casey doesn't listen to this. She's been
Oh,
trying
no.
for years to teach me how to do the laundry, and I do drills like how to separate colors and all of these different things. I never have learned. I'm scared she'll just say, there's the room full of laundry. There's a washing machine. I've just set up the constraints. Go figure it out.
Figure it out. Figure it out. I hope Casey, please listen to this. This is great. This is great. You'll have John doing the laundry in no time.
You know
But
how many sweaters will be shrunk down to nothing.
yeah, you have to be willing to lose some items of
Yeah,
clothing
that's
until
right.
he figured it out, because I'm assuming that coach, and it was summer league, right?
Mhm.
But he was willing to lose a game or two,
Oh, yeah, during the
right?
season, it was the same. Yeah. He didn't
Yeah, but
care.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
to set up those constraints
Uh-huh.
that or the outcome of when you touch the ball and you're at the 3 line, shoot the ball.
Uh-huh.
That's all you need to know. So the same thing, detergent, softener, and washer and dryer in there. Figure it out.
It's all in there.
And as long as Casey's willing to lose a couple of sweaters or have them turn pink or whatever you're
Yeah.
going to do,
Yeah. But that's
you will
information,
learn.
right? That my brain learns from.
Yes. Yeah, because you probably heard, I said I was going to let you go, but I wanted to bring up one more thing, because there's this, I don't know where it came from, but I know you probably heard, in order to master a skill,
Uh-huh.
to achieve mastery of a skill, it takes 10 years or 10,000 hours,
1,000 hours. Mm-hmm.
right?
I've heard that. Mm-hmm.
Does it though?
I don't think so. No. No.
I think that maybe under that traditional Schmidt
Yeah,
and
maybe
Lee
that's the 10,000.
theory, it's 10,000
If you
hours or
spend
10
6,000
years
hours on drills you don't
doing,
need to do, then maybe it takes 10,000 hours.
yeah, maybe. You have to learn the drill, get instruction on the drill,
Uh-huh.
practice the drill, get feedback on the drill,
Uh-huh.
and you haven't even played a game yet.
Yeah.
Or I
That's
just put
interesting.
10 people on a court and say, figure it out.
Go play. I like that. I really like, I'm glad you brought these two up. I really like the CLA.
Me too. Me too. I just
I
got to
would
figure out how to
encourage
do
you
it now.
to your instructor to do it and for you to just jump in and try it. I think you would
I'm
be
trying
great
it
at
right
setting
now.
up. Yeah, you'd be great at setting up constraints and all of that. You understand it so well. You'd be great at it.
I'm not great at it, but I'm learning. Because again, I have 8 years of jiu-jitsu doing it the way that I've always done
Yeah,
it.
that's
And
going to
now
take a while
I
to
got to
unlearn.
figure out a
Mhm.
new way of, how do you teach someone how to do an armbar? You don't. I'm like, wait, stop. Okay, hang on. But this conversation, John, I mean this with all my heart. This was very helpful for me, because
Good.
there's some things that you said that helped me reframe the way I was looking at it. And you've given some rock solid examples to me that I can go, oh man, that's it. That makes sense. So
But
as
you've
always,
spent so
thank you.
much time
Thank
learning that way to do it that it's going to take time to think
you.
differently because you've trained your brain. Let's think about it like this. You spent time developing lessons, lesson plans, and also it'll take time, but you'll be good at figuring that out. I know.
Thank you. And thank you for all your time sitting through this with me. I know
Oh,
that when I said I wanted to talk about it, you're like, okay, let's see how this goes. But
no, I've enjoyed it.
I was very happy. So thank
I've
you.
enjoyed it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So everybody else, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you're still listening, hit us up on the socials, especially if you hated this episode. If you can't wait to hit stop on this, then hit us up on our socials. Leave a comment wherever you're listening to the show. I encourage all of you, tell me how crazy or wrong I am. But as long as we're connecting, that's all that I care about. So until next time, take care of yourself, and we'll see you then.
Grain to Sean.